Runsmith Enterprises presents episode 24 of Topics in Endurance Sports. I'm your host, Tim. Today is Friday, January 18, 2019. Today's topic is the Tunnel Hill 100-mile ultra marathon. You can find out more about me at my website at runsmith.net, email, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and also my coaching services. I'll try to mention that again at the end of this episode. A little bit about my last episode, which was about the Stone Steps 50K in Cincinnati, Ohio. I actually got a comment. I rarely ever get a comment. In fact, I think this might be only the second one in 2 years. But I got a comment about that episode from Andrew Jones, and I want to thank Andrew Jones for this comment. Here's what he had to say. Be nice if he had his facts together before doing his podcast. Stop listening after he admitted he didn't know or guessed about 5 times in the first 5 minutes. Yes, there you go. Abundant praise from Andrew Jones. I really appreciate that very, very much. So as I said, today's topic is the Tunnel Hill 100-miler, which was on November 10th, 2018. That's right, over 2 months ago. I'm still way behind, as I have been for a while. However, after this, I'll only be one race behind. So that's good. My next race that I'll probably cover is not till mid-February, about a month from now. So if I can get that one episode done between now and the next month, I'll be all caught up, which is a miracle. Seems like so. Anyway. I should mention also, I did cover the 2017 Tunnel Hill 100-miler. That was in episode 13. So feel free to go back and check that out. In that episode, I had an interview with a couple of friends of mine named Jess and Andrew, not Andrew Jones, another Andrew. And this was the year that Camille Herron ran the world record, trail record of 12 hours and 42 minutes. It was amazing watching her run. And we had another similar thing like that happen this year. So go ahead and check out episode 13 for some information about Tunnel Hill. There'll be a little bit of repetition here when I'm talking about the course, since obviously some of that was mentioned in that episode. In fact, let's get to that. Here's some data for my new friend Andrew Jones, who says that I don't know any data. So this is for you, Andrew. The course at Tunnel Hill is a double out and back. So you start, the race is in Vienna, Illinois. It looks like Vienna, Austria, but they seem to pronounce it Vienna. And it's a park in Vienna called Vienna Park. A very small town, it seems to me. It can't be more than, I don't really know, maybe 10,000 people or something. It maybe less, maybe a little more, but it's a pretty small town. And so you start at Vienna Park, which is right in the middle of the city. And there is a crushed gravel trail that basically goes not actually in Vienna Park, but across the street from it, and then at the end of Vienna Park. Vienna Park's a very small park. So you begin by running across the road, kind of the main street actually, and you're on a crushed gravel trail immediately. Actually, they have you do a little loop in the park. I'm thinking they do that to spread everybody out. And that must be part of how they measured it to get to be, I think it might officially be 100.1 miles. This race is actually officially measured with a rolling wheel, which is amazing, right? That they do that. And they do that so they can have these world records that are ratified. So I believe it comes out to 100.1. So you run across the road and you're going southbound. And you'll run about 13.25 miles south, all on crushed gravel. There's 2 aid stations along the way, plus one at the turnaround. The one at the turnarounds doesn't have a whole lot. And the first one doesn't have a whole lot, but the second one, which they call Karnak, is kind of the big one. That's where you can have a drop bag, and it's got a little canopy with a fire pit in it, so if you want to get warm, you can get in there. So that's Karnak, about 11 miles into the 13.25 mile distance. At the turnaround, of course, you just turn around and run back to the start finish. So you'll see each of those aid stations twice, except the one at the turnaround. So that aid station at Karnak, you'll go by it twice. If you can see drop bag twice or warm up twice. And it's got a little bit more food there, like hot foods going, that type of thing. I think the first one might have had soup as well. So You run back to the start finish. And of course, you can have a drop bag at the start finish as well. So there's going to be 3 places where you can have drop bags. At this point, you've done 26.5 miles. And then you're going to run northbound. You're going to go northbound about 11.75 miles. And this has 3 aid stations plus 1 at the turnaround. The first aid station is a small one. The second one is actually unmanned. I'm not really sure why they have 3. I think it's just because of where they can put them. It'd be too far between the first and the second. So they add a little unmanned one. I think it just has water is all it had. And then the third one is at the tunnel that the race is named after. It's just after the tunnel, about mile 11. And that's also kind of a major one. Also has a little fire pit. You can have a drop bag there. And has a little bit more food and hot stuff there. So on both ways, about 10-ish miles in, southbound and northbound, you've got kind of a main aid station where you can have a drop bag and warm stuff, and you'll hit those main aid stations twice every time you run that direction. So you turn around, of course, at the northbound terminus and come back 11.75 miles, and you're back at the start finish, and you've done 50 miles. So then you will do this all again. So again, 3 places for drop bags, start finish, and the 2 kind of main aid stations on both the southbound and northbound. The course is all crushed gravel. It's very flat. You would have to make an effort to trip. There's not much chance of that. There is a little curvature kind of at both ends. In fact, the southbound end, you actually run on a sidewalk for a little bit, like a bike path, paved bike path. I mean, like half a mile or something. And the northbound also kind of curves. But I believe the whole crushed gravel trail, for the most part, was a train track at one point. Now it's just crushed gravel. That's why the tunnel hill at the aid station there, I think, is at the old train depot. The northbound path, okay, remember you start by going south first, out and back, and then you go north, out and back. The northbound path actually has a rise to it heading towards the tunnel. It's the type of rise where if you're feeling good, you would not know. You couldn't tell you're actually running uphill. It's that gentle. When you're really, really tired, you can feel it a little bit. Same going down, okay? You kind of can feel it when you're really tired, but it's so gentle, it's hard to notice. The total elevation change for this whole 100 miles is less than 2,000 feet, so very little. Going southbound, which you do first, out and back, you mainly like running in the woods. There is a road to your left as you're going south. You kind of don't notice it that much. Kind of, a little bit here and there you see it. And of course, you cross some roads as you go, and that's where those roads are coming from. But mainly it's like you're running in the woods. Going northbound, same thing, a lot of running in the woods, but a little bit more things to see. There's more bridges, and these bridges have creeks underneath them, pretty big creeks, almost rivers, and sometimes some pretty cool rocky-looking views. No, it's not the mountains, but at least it gives you something to look at. And I never got bored. I mean, it was just not like... It wasn't horrible ever to look at, okay? It's just like running in the woods. It was pretty nice. The aid stations have Sword Hydration Drink. This is a Durbin race. He puts on a lot of races, and they tend to have Sword. It comes out of Kentucky originally, I believe, the company. So Durbin tends to use Sword Hydration Drink. I don't really care what the drink is. It can be Hammer Heat. It can be Gatorade. Makes no difference to me. Tailwind. I don't care. I just drink it. Plus, they have all the usual foods, the peanut butter jellies and some soups. The hot places would have soups and everything else you need, chips and M&Ms and such. The Big Ten at the start finish also had some hot food there. They had soup. That's the only place I got soup. The one, Karnak, on the southbound, they had the second time I went through there and I was really cold, they had like tacos. And it was really simple tacos, a very small tortilla, and they just put some crumbled beef in there, and it was perfect. A little bit of spicy beef in there. It's like, man, that is absolutely excellent. And I chowed like 3 of those down. In fact, I was really rude once because I went up there, and it was one of those things where another guy kind of motioned toward the guy to hand him one, And I just stole it. And then they were like, the guy had to wait because I took the last one. I didn't really mean to. It's just kind of an accident, but he gave me a dirty look. Sorry about that, guy. It wasn't intentional. Sometimes that happens. You get 30 hours to finish the 100-miler. There was also a 50-mile race. And this year they added a marathon, which went on Sunday morning. We started on Saturday morning. All the 100-milers and 50-milers started at the same time. Saturday morning at 7 a.m., I believe. And the marathon started Sunday morning. I'll mention that a little bit at the end. The marathoners just ran northbound and back. So that's through the tunnel and back. So the day before, we drove to Vienna, Illinois. From where I'm living, it's 6 hours or something. And we stayed at Hotel 7 in Vienna, which is about the only hotel there. Last year we stayed in Paducah, Kentucky, which isn't very far away from this, actually. The Hotel 7, it was really close, and I don't think it was much money, but not the best in some ways. I mean, the room was fine, but what was annoying was we got there in the middle of the afternoon, like 2 or 3, and our room was not ready. And there were some other, obviously, runners in there, and it wasn't ready for them either. And some people were really pissed off, to be honest. I'm like, no big deal. We'll just go eat. It might have been like 4 or something when we got there. Because I remember, like I said, we'll just go eat dinner. And so we went to a Subway nearby and ate. That's just all I had for dinner. But when I got back, people were kind of still there, just getting into their room, and we were able to get into our room then, but it might have been after 5. So I have no idea why the rooms were not ready till 4 or 5 or whatever, but there was a bunch of people in the parking lot just kind of like moaning and groaning about this. The room's not being ready. I don't really understand that, if that's the way it normally is or what, but the room itself otherwise was fine. And it's like 0.8 miles from the start, so you kind of can't beat that. Race morning, I was up at 4:50 a.m. I had some oatmeal and a Cliff Bar or 2. Got to the race about 6 a.m., which is pretty nice, right? 1 hour and 10 minutes from wake up to get to the race. That's nice. It was pretty cold, and this is going to end up being kind of important. It was, even though it was early November, that's generally still fairly warmish there in Vienna, Illinois. It's very southern Illinois, like I said, very near Paducah, Kentucky. And usually it's going to be 40s to 60s or something like that. A cold front, kind of a freakish little cold front came in right before the race, and it was about 25 degrees at the start of the race. Now, that is not a big deal for most Midwestern runners. It's not a big deal in December, January, February. In fact, we'd be happy about 25 degrees sometimes. But it just caught a lot of people off guard, I think, because it just came so quickly, and people had been running in, the 50s for all their training runs, and all of a sudden it's 25. And it caught me off guard, which we'll get to later. So we took off at 7 a.m. This is on Veterans Day weekend. So they have buglers playing taps, I believe, so that's kind of cool before the race. But anyway, took off at 7 a.m. Deb saw me off, did a little loop around the parking lot so Deb can see me there. And also Camille Herron was there because she was there the night before to give the little talk at Packet Pickup. So the Packet Pickup is the night before in a nearby high school. And they also have a spaghetti dinner there, and Camille Herron gave the talk there. We didn't go to that. Probably should have, but we didn't. And so she was there at the start of the race, which is pretty neat. So she was all waving, smiling, go get them and stuff like that. And it turns out as long as she was there, she actually did a workout while she was there. I never saw her again, but I interviewed a couple of friends of mine here later, and they said they did see her, but I did not see her again. But she was there to see us off, which is cool. So I decided to try something new at this race. First time I've ever done this, except in Ironman distance triathlons. And that is, I decided to do a run-walk right from the beginning. And Tunnel Hill's the place to do it because it's all flat. I don't know how people can really do a run-walk if it's hilly, because the hills determine when you walk normally, unless you have long stretches without a hill. but I've never really done one from the beginning. Last year at Tunnel Hill, I ended up eventually doing a run walk, but I did it by distance. I just looked at my watch and I was doing like a 0.3 mile run and a 0.2 mile walk. I did that for many, many hours in 2017. This time I said, I'm going to start it right from mile 1. So for the first 5 hours, I did an 8-minute run and 2-minute walk. And I actually think this is a little bit too much running. If I did this again, I'd lower that. I'd probably start off 7.3 or 6.4 even, or maybe more like 4.1. That might be better. Make both of the intervals shorter. So it'd be the same ratio instead of 8.2, 4.1. I might start with that. So to do it, I don't have a watch that you can make do that. I don't know if there are watches that do that you can set to beep. I know you can set them to beep at like the same interval, like every minute, but not 8 minutes and then 2 minutes. But my wife has something called a Gymboss, which some of you may know about. You can get an app for this, but she has a little plastic thingy. I didn't want to use an app because I didn't want to. First of all, I didn't carry my phone the first 50 miles. And second, maybe it would wear out the battery. Maybe the battery would go dead or something. So my wife has this little clip-on plastic timer thing from a company called Gymboss, or the thing is called a Gymboss. And I just use hers, and it worked great. So I practiced with it once or twice. And you just clip it, and I clipped it up to my collar, and you can set these intervals to whatever you like. Okay, I think you can only have 2 intervals, but that's all I needed. So you can either have it beep or vibrate or both. I don't remember what I did. I know I had it beeping. I guess I had it doing both. So I set it to 8-minute run, 2-minute walk. And I actually did that for 5 hours, which was almost a whole first out and back, southbound out and back. When I got down to Karnak, about mile 11, I dumped a little bit of clothing. Remember, it was 25 degrees, but it's daytime. It's going to start warming up. I dumped a little bit of clothing and continued to the southbound turnaround, came back, got to the start finish, and I think it took me about 5 hours and 15 minutes. So that's about a marathon because it's about 26 miles. My first marathon in 5:15, which I think was actually a little faster than I was even anticipating. So I was pretty happy with that. At this point, I'm taking about 1 gel per hour. I haven't taken any caffeine yet. If you've listened to the last couple of episodes, it's something I'm experimenting with, less caffeine at the beginning. Just nibbling at the aid stations, peanut butter and jellies. I love those. Having said that, I actually felt pretty weak that first 26 miles. I was not really happy. But again, I mentioned in the interview coming up here that this is becoming kind of normal for me. The first third or the first fourth of an ultra, I don't feel very good. It's going to happen again in my next race. I'm going to talk about the Chattanooga 50 that I did. Also didn't feel good at the beginning, and this is starting to happen more and more. And I'm not complaining about that because the good news is I start feeling better later. So that's okay. It's just kind of the first quarter, my body's kind of not ready, which is odd because I'm not a person who does very many long runs. So you would think, even for me, 25 miles is still a very, very, very long run. So why I'm feeling kind of weak for 25 miles and then feel better, I don't really understand. You think if I'm going to feel weak the first 25 miles, I'm going to feel weak the whole way. So I'm a little confused as to how this happens. Maybe it's in my head. Maybe it's not real. And maybe it's just kind of this dread of how far I have to go makes me think I'm feeling weak. And somehow that plays into it. I don't really know. But anyway, the first 26 miles, I did not feel very good. Although, like I said, I think I got back. I think I told Deb it would take me like 6 hours, and I got back in 5:15. So there's a little disconnect between how fast I'm going and how I'm feeling. So at the start finish, I saw Deb again, got out of there pretty quickly, and started on the northbound out and back. By the way, I should mention I saw a friend of mine from the Quad Cities, which is Davenport, Iowa mainly, or Bettendorf, Iowa, that area, Moline, Rock Island, Illinois. My friend Bonnie Bush, she was cheering on a couple of friends, and it was great because I saw her like probably a dozen times or so, maybe not that many, maybe 8 or something, but I saw her a bunch. She was hopping not just from aid station to aid station, but road to road. and whoever she was watching was right behind me, a couple of friends. And so I'd keep seeing her, and she would cheer me on and, push me, go, 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 get out of here, and stuff like that. So she's a great person. She's a legend in the Quad Cities, and so it was great to see her there cheering me on. Anyway, I took off for the northbound towards the tunnel. At this point, I switched to about a 4-1, which is what I said I probably should have started with. So I was doing a 4-minute run, 1-minute walk. I held on to that for about 7 hours, all the way up through hour 12, which I was pretty happy because when I started it, I thought, I don't know how long I'll be able to keep that up. But I kept that up for quite a long ways, all the way through hour 12. I'm still doing the 4-1. So basically, I did that ratio all the first 12 hours because I started with 8-2, then went to 4-1, same ratio. So the first 12 hours, I actually held on to a 4-1 ratio, which isn't bad, I think, for me. So heading out, I saw Deb my wife. So when you head out again, you go through the tunnel. By the way, the tunnel is really cool. It's about 800 feet long. It's really dark when you get inside. It's long enough that you just see lights at each end. So in the middle of it, you're kind of blind because you've come in from daylight or whatever. You don't have a headlamp during the day, and you're kind of blind. You can't really see the floor. You can just see the light at the other end of the tunnel, and you kind of head toward that. But it's really neat. And right after the tunnel, I saw Deb. I should note, as we entered the tunnel, actually, I guess as I was going out, at the other end of the tunnel, there was a guy sitting there drumming. It was the coolest sound. Just pounding on a drum and it kind of vibrating through the tunnel. It was awesome, echoing through the tunnel. It was really great. So I went through the tunnel, waved at him, and you go just a little bit farther, not even a mile, and then you're at the Tunnel Hill Aid Station. That's where I saw Deb. Also about this time, I got a first. A lady recognized me from the podcast. Never happened before. I've been doing this for 2 years. Bunch of races, not one person has ever recognized me, but she said she recognized me. I mean, there's only like 3 or 4 people that listen to this thing, so that's not unreasonable. But she said that she had watched one of the podcasts, one of the episodes. So if you don't know, I take a video of this and I put it on YouTube. I'm really behind now, about 3 episodes behind, but eventually this will show up on YouTube. I do that for people who just don't do podcasts. So I think she watched it on YouTube. So she recognized me and said something. I'd like, hey, I saw you. I think she watched the last episode 13 where I did Tunnel Hill 2017. I'm assuming she meant she watched that to get information about Tunnel Hill. So she kind of said, oh, I saw you. I watched that episode or something. It was really neat. So it got me all pumped up like, wow, the first time I ever got recognized. Anyway, like I said, got to Tunnel Hill. That's the other main aid station with the drop bag. Went to the turnaround, came back, saw Deb again, went through the tunnel and headed all the way back. Now I'm going northbound again, but I'm on the south part of the race, going northbound again toward the start finish, which I got to. And that means I'm now done 50 miles. I didn't have any big issues the second 24 miles, the down and back southbound. And I got there a little before 11 hours. So I'm still doing the 4-1 thing. Between the tunnel and the start finish, I had to turn my headlamp on. This is November 10th. And the sun went down like at 5 or something like that, pretty early. So I already had my headlamp on well before I even got back to the start finish at mile 50. And saw Deb again. At this point, when I stopped, my body temperature really dropped because it did kind of feel good during the day. In the sunlight, you're pretty warm and it's happy. But when the sun went down and then I stopped, really started to get really, really cold. I stopped there and got a little more clothing and change and got some more liquids and probably grabbed some gels and that type of thing. And I remember I was really, really, really getting cold. I was there maybe 5 or 10 minutes. Probably the longest stop I took, just about the whole race. But when I was getting ready to start going again, I was shivering, really cold. And I got my phone from Deb, because I was going to text her at some point later. And I told her to go to the hotel and go to sleep because that's what we do. When I do a 100-miler, she comes, but I want her to sleep during the night because she's got to drive the next day. I don't want her up all night and then trying to drive. Plus, I would not like knowing she's standing out there in the freezing cold or sitting in the car all night long. It's just not, that would bother me, make me anxious. So I'm much more happy knowing she's at the hotel in bed getting some sleep. And I know it's not perfect sleep for her because she's worried, but that's the way we do it. Actually, my note says here I did not get any extra clothing here because I knew I was going to get some more at Karnak. So that's probably another reason I was really, really, really cold when I took off from there. But I knew as I started running, I'd probably warm up. So I left Vienna Park I believe right at hour 11 for me. 6 p.m. Again, I think I'm a good hour or so ahead of schedule, so I was pretty happy. But at 6 p.m. exactly, 11 hours, and I'm heading back to repeat everything I've done. It's pitch dark. I'm freezing, but I thought I'd warm up, and I did. So as I started warming, I got a little bit warmer. I think I was always kind of chilly, but in a way that's good. It kind of made me run a little bit more. A couple of interesting things that happened on this out and back. So now I'm going southbound again toward Karnak. For one, there was at one point where I was running, and there must have been some light near me, like a street light or something, and someone said something, and it was late enough that I'm getting tired. It's probably like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, or something, or midnight, or something like that. And I'm just running, and someone turned and said something, but as they spoke, everyone's breath was condensing in the air, so you get a little cloud. And they said something, and the little cloud, I don't even know if they said it to me. They might have been talking to someone else, but a little breath cloud hung above my head for a second, and it freaked me out. I jumped. I never get hallucinations, but this is kind of like a hallucination-y type thing. And it was I remember I jerked my head because I thought I was going to hit my head into this thing. And I was like, whoa, what is that? And I almost fell over because I'm trying to avoid this. And so I'm trying to avoid someone's breath, which I think is rather funny. I think that was later that happened. Before that happened, this was interesting. So there was one place you had to cross a train track. Okay. And you come up to it, and remember I said there's a road on your left? So there's a road on the left. You're running parallel to the road. So as I'm coming to a train track, I hear the bells, like a train is coming. But on the where we're running, there's no gates or anything. There's nothing. But there is it's only 50 yards over to your left. You're hearing the bells go. The gates are starting to come down. Hold on, I'm going to cough. Excuse me. The gates are starting to come down, but remember, I'm a little bit out of it. It's 10 p.m. or something, and I'm running, maybe only 9 p.m., and I'm running, and because it's to my left, I look to the left, and I don't see the train, so I'm thinking I'm good, right? Because the gates are going down to my left on the road to my left, parallel to me. So then I run. Now I'm 20 feet from the track before I bother to turn to look right. There's the train. And it's going, I'm not joking, folks, 60 miles an hour. It was flying. And I had a choice either to run or not. And I just ran. And I ran and I crossed it. Now, to be totally honest, it was probably a good 50 yards between me and the train. It wasn't that close. But when a train's going 60 miles an hour, and you're a little bit out of it, and you just make this last second instinctual decision to run across the track, in a way it was close. So, I got across the track and probably went 4 or 5 seconds before it blew by me, but it flew by. And I'm just thinking, had the train been 20 yards from me and I made the same decision, I'd be dead. That's all there would be to it. Or maybe I would have been smart enough, hopefully I would have been smart enough to stop. But it was just kind of a freaky moment that really caught me off guard. I'd seen the train tracks before, but I just wasn't expecting a train. And I was all messed up because of everything happening to my left at the road, thinking, oh, there's a train crossing on the road there. But of course, it's the same crossing for me. But anyway, I was almost killed by this train, but I ran through it. I don't know how long I would have had to wait if I had to wait for the train, because I don't know, like, who cares if I would have had to wait 5 minutes, right? But I would have probably, that would have been bad. I would have started shivering again. So I don't know how long the train took to get by that. But that was kind of a freaky moment, pitch black, and your brain, you still start to zombie out. I'm running by myself. I always run by myself. I ran this whole race by myself, except for a few minutes here and there when I accidentally was near someone who talked to me a little bit. Around hour 12, which is only about an hour after I left the start finish, so maybe about mile 55-ish, I went to a 3-to-1 run walk because I'm getting weaker. And I held this all the way to the southern turnaround and then back to Karnak. Now I've done all the way back. The turnaround would be about mile 63, a couple more miles back to Karnak, going north again, about probably mile 65. I held the 3-to-1 all the way through there. At Karnak, at this point, again, it's very late. It's probably, now it is about 10 p.m. or something like that. That's where I grabbed my drop bag and started putting more clothing on, because I know it's going to really be getting cold in the middle of the night here. So I had a vest, I took that off, put on a long sleeve jacket. And what's nice is it got a little canopy with a fire pit. So I just took everything into there and stood by that and did all this. I wasn't totally frozen. I put on a second pair of gloves. I put a buff on, and that's where I got the little tacos, I think, at that point, and some other hot stuff. At this point, I was pretty beat, and I decided I'm just going to walk, which is funny because this is the exact same place last year that I really, really, really felt beat and started walking last year. So I decided I'm just going to walk. I'm not going to worry about running. And of course, in my mind here, I'm thinking, am I going to walk the rest of the way? I don't know. I got 35 miles to go. Although I have a history of saying I think I'm going to walk the rest of the way and then being able to run again at some point. So I thought, hopefully I'll be able to run again. But anyway, about 15 hours in, I'm thinking, and I got 35 miles to go. Time-wise, that shouldn't be a big deal as long as I can, at some point, kind of get jogging a little bit. And I knew from last time that this distance, which is about 11 miles from here to the start-finish, is a really, really tough 11 miles. It's really getting much colder at this time, very dark. You don't see people. There's something about the nature of this course that everybody's kind of running in your same direction at this point. There's not many people behind me I'm going to pass because I'm slow. I'm near the back anyway. So anyone who is running the same direction I am, or they're on the northbound, the northern part of the course, and if they're coming back, they're done. They're done with their 100 miles. So you just don't pass anyone during this 11-mile stretch right here. So it's very lonely, and it's slow, and I'm walking, so it's a very slow 11 miles coming up. Here's the problem, though. As soon as I took off from Karnak, I started getting this really bad pain in my left hip flexor, right at the front of my hip, really bad. And I have issues with this area anyway in both of my legs. It just gets really, really tight and stiff. Well, it was really bad. Just because I stopped for 5-10 minutes at Karnak, and everything kind of stiffened up. So I tried to start walking, and I couldn't even walk. I'm limping, a real honest to goodness limp. And I'm cussing, and I'm thinking, I can't do this for 35 miles. It's not possible. I mean, I'm going so slow. I'm doing, 30-minute miles here. So I take off, and I kind of go, and immediately I'm thinking, well, the next aid station, that might be it. Even though I'm thinking that's going to take 2.5 hours to get there at the pace I'm going. But it was really painful. Luckily, there are these periodic bridges over little creeks and stuff. So I got to a bridge, and I did some leg swings. Just holding onto the bridge and just swinging both my legs in various directions. And it kind of loosened up a little. So then I was able to walk a little bit better. Only lasted maybe 10 minutes and started tightening up again. But luckily, again, there's a few little bridges, and every time I hit a bridge, I'd lose leg swing, and finally it loosened up, okay? And then finally, at one point, I started trying to run, but my running would literally be, I would start running and count to 10 and then stop, or start running and count to 20, then stop. So it was not much running. I might run for 20 seconds and then walk for a minute or 30 seconds or something like that. It was just kind of whatever I could do. It took me about 90 minutes to get to the next aid station. Probably had one about 5 miles from Karnak. At this point, right before I got there, my water bottle stems froze. So this is where I'm talking about not being prepared. I just wasn't thinking about water freezing. So not the water in the bottles, but the stems froze. I couldn't suck anything out. So I get there, and the guy there was kind of prepared. I'm kind of impressed because he had a bowl of hot water, and he threw like my water bottles into the bowl of his hot water. So the stems got in there, and he melted them. So I was able to drink out of them. The problem is, the guy there also said that, according to what he heard, it was 20 degrees at the time, so pretty cold. So I drank a whole bunch there and got my water bottles working, but they froze again after about another 30 minutes. So did not really help in the long run. And even that stop there was probably only 3 minutes. My hip flexors locked up again, or the one on the left. So again, I had to do this kind of limpy thing until I got to some bridges and was doing the leg swings over and over, or might find a tree and do leg swings. Every time I did leg swings, it'd loosen up, but it was just, tighten up again a little bit afterwards. Again, I'm trying to run for 10 to 30 seconds with 1 to 2 minute walks. I did this all the way to Vienna, all the way to the start finish. So that 11 miles was really tough. The hip flexor thing, the frozen water bottles, getting really cold. And I got to keep moving. I don't overdress. I purposely don't want to be too hot because that'd be horrible if I start sweating. So I count on my body to be moving to keep me warm. So I'm chilly the whole darn way. The other thing that happened at Karnak, when I stopped at the little fire pit, I took off my clear glasses. So when it is very dark, I often wear clear glasses. I'll do it on a trail race so I don't get a stick in the eye. And I do it in cold races like this because it kind of keeps my eyes warmer, and I wear contacts. I really want my eyes to be warm. I don't want a frozen contact. I left my clear glasses at the Karnak aid station. I remember now putting them kind of on the ground for a moment while I was putting something over my head, the buff or whatever, and I forgot to put them back on. And yes, lo and behold, my right eye started getting really sore because I think it's kind of freezing. You got liquid between your eye and your contact, and maybe it's starting to freeze a little. There was something about it, but my right eye got really, really sore. I remember I would put my hand over my eye just to try to warm up the eye. That wasn't fun. So I had this kind of frozen eyeball, and that's bugging me. So I've got the hip flexor thing going, right? I got the frozen eyeball. I've got water bottles that are freezing. I'm really cold. Not able to move fast. So like I said, that was a tough 11 miles. The Gym Boss, which is a plastic thing with batteries in it, I was afraid that would freeze. So I had to take that and stick it way inside all of my clothing and attach it so that it was actually up against my chest. I've got this hard thing up against my skin, but I thought that would help keep it warm, which it did. Even though I wasn't really using it, I think I had turned it off at that point, but I thought maybe I would use it again, which I believe I did. I turned it back on. Yeah, I did. So back at Vienna, it was 18 hours and 15 minutes when I got back there. 1:15 a.m., about getting close to the coldest time of the day. By the way, my friend Nate would have finished when I was standing there. I'm going to interview Nate here in a little bit, and I just realized I think he finished at 1:18 a.m. I got there about 1:15 a.m., so I didn't notice it, but he probably finished when I was there. I think I had predicted 19 hours. So amazingly, I'm still a little bit ahead of schedule with all this. Because last year, this race took me over 27 hours. I'm kind of going off that. This one, I got a bowl of chicken soup. I don't do soup very often, but I did. They had a big tent there to go in that was kind of warmish. got a bowl of chicken soup, and I checked my phone. It said it was 23 degrees out, so it's still pretty cold. Didn't hang out too long. I didn't sit at all, but I did have to go outside. All the drop bags are still outside, so I had to go out and get what I needed out of there. I just left my water bottles there, by the way. I didn't even bother taking them anymore because they kept freezing. So I thought, what's the point of carrying them? And also I was thinking, it's so cold, I'm not going to need very much liquids. I'll just drink every time I get to an aid station. And generally that did end up working. I grabbed a couple of granola bars. Didn't think I'd need a ton of food either. And the granola bars I always have these nature-made oats, honey oats. If you've never tried those, they're good. They're easy to get down when you kind of not real thrilled about gels. So I got a couple of those, and I got some gel blocks, block-type gels. Those are easier for me to eat when I'm kind of tired of gels. The blocks are easier. So at this point, I did use my Gym Boss again. Now I set it to 2-2. So 2-minute run, 2-minute walk. And I was wondering if I'd even be able to do it. But I thought, I'm going to try. And luckily, when I left, now I've got 24 miles to go, roughly. Now I'm going to do the northbound again. When I left there, my hip was okay. So I was really surprised because I stood around for like 10 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever. And I thought my hip flex is going to flare up again, but it didn't. It never came back. So I was really happy and lucky that the hip flexor was okay. I was freezing when I took off, shivering like crazy. But as I got moving, I was a little better. And I eventually did get into the 2-minute run, 2-minute walk, which I was extremely happy about. I did this all the way to the northern turnaround, through the Tunnel Hill Aid Station, all the way to the northern turnaround. I think at that point I went back to just whatever I could do. I turned it off again, I believe. I got back to the Tunnel Hill Aid Station, heading back to the finish, my final time heading back to the finish. I remember I stopped there. That's when I finally had to go to the bathroom, by the way. Yeah, I know, very exciting, but nothing like, that's a big deal when you're running, is when am I going to have to go and when am I going to have to go? And, of course, obviously I'm not talking about taking a pee, which I can do at any time. So had to go there, which is not fun when you're really, really stiff and really, really cold. And you have to go into the porta potty and sit down and no fun, right? We all kind of know how that is, but better a porta potty than out in the woods. So I got that done, but that it seems like it takes 5 minutes because it's just slow to do everything. So and then they had a little fire pit there. I did stand around the fire pit for about a minute, kind of warming up while I was eating and stuff. Almost regretted not having a bottle to drink out of. I thought maybe it was a problem. So what I did was I stole, on a table they had a bottle of ginger ale, like a 16-ounce plastic bottle. It was like half full. I just stole that and put it in my vest, and that's what I drank a lot on the way back. And I didn't even end up drinking all of that. I mentioned there's an unmanned aid station on this part. They had there were gallons of water, and they were like semi-frozen. And I had no bottle with me going out, so I just drank right out of the gallon of water. Oops, sorry, other folks who came there after me, but I had no bottle, and so I think I did try not to put my lips on it, but not easy. So I just drank right out of a gallon of water. That was going out to the tunnel. Let's see, any other things here? Like I said, I grabbed the ginger ale. I saw Bonnie again, my friend Bonnie Bush, going out the first time I saw the tunnel. So this was at, what is it, 2 in the morning? This is like 3 or 4 in the morning. Yeah, because it was 1:15 when I left the start-finish. So this is like 3 or 4 in the morning. Bonnie's still out there cheering her friends on, which is cool. I didn't see her when I came back to the tunnel there, but I did see her that last time. Okay, so I did turn the timer off at the turnaround. It's probably about mile 87-ish. Got about 13 miles to go. No, I got about 12 miles to go, so it's about mile 78. 12 miles to go, I turned the timer off again. Let's see, took off, left the Tunnel Hill Aid Station. I got about 10 miles to go. A lot of foot pain, which is real typical for me. My feet just get a horrible pain in them, kind of a generalized pain. I don't know why I get that. It doesn't sound like it's real common in other people, but it is for me. In general, it's the worst pain I have while I'm running an ultra. Once I get over 10, 15 hours, my feet just get very painful. I was, again, just doing whatever run walk I could. I might run for 10 to 30 seconds and then walk a little bit, just doing that. By the way, I texted Deb at the Tunnel Hill aid station. It's about 5:30 a.m., I think. I texted her, and I made a guess as to when I was going to arrive so she could know when to get up. I was doing some cussing because of the pain in my feet. And it doesn't matter if I run or walk. That's the bad thing. Walking is just as painful as running. So, or maybe that's a good thing. It's like, well, I might as well run, but doing whatever I could. The last aid station you see is about 3 miles from the finish. And the nice thing about that is, number one, it's the last aid station. You only have like a 5K to go. But also this year, the marathoners had just taken off. For me, because I'm so slow, they had just taken off and were going by me, going the other direction, which was really cool because they were all really encouraging, right? They're like, oh, way to go, it was a good job, almost done. So I got a lot of cheering on, which was really kind of nice. So I enjoyed that, really needed that at this point. I texted Deb again at some point. I said I thought I'd finish around 8:20 a.m., and I was very close. I finished at 8:21 a.m., so not bad, because I think it was about this 3 miles to go when I texted her that. Deb came out like she did last year, walked from the finish, and walked out to meet me, and we just walked it in at that point, the last 3/4 of a mile or something. And that's it. I finished. My final time was 25:21:55. So 25 hours, 21 minutes. Plus, last year I think it was 27:15. So I was close to being 2 hours faster. So I know I sound like I complained a lot, right, about all my pains and aches and everything, but I actually did a little bit faster. I should note, last year I was injured. And if you listen to that episode, I dropped out of the race a month before the race, and then I dropped back in 10 days before. It's kind of a weird story. So I was truly injured last year and didn't train the last 6 weeks before the race. I barely trained. So that's why I was faster this year, because I was able to do more running overall this year than I did last year. I did more walking than last year. So 25:21:55. Some statistics. 383 people started the 100-miler. 203 finished. That's right. 180 people dropped out of 383. It sounds like a lot, right? Part of it was, I think, the cold threw some people off. They just weren't ready for that. They just got too cold. I know that was the case in some cases. Also, this race is so flat, I'm guessing a lot of people try it for their first 100-miler, thinking, well, it's really flat. And, and of course, it's still 100 miles, right? So you may have a little bit less prepared people. Not too many people who are inexperienced are going to jump into a hilly, mountainous race. It's a little bit more inexperienced crowd. Of the 180 who did not finish, 139 dropped to the 50. That's another thing. This race allows you to drop to the 50-mile mid-race. So that also encourages people to drop out of the 100, because you can just drop down to the 50. Of those 180 that didn't make it, 139 dropped to the 50, and 41 didn't even make it 50 miles. I'm assuming, because they're not listed as a finisher in the 100 or the 50. So a lot of drops. By the way, I came in 100th. Isn't that interesting? Exactly 100th. So I came in 100th out of 203, right about 50%. So not bad. I know I kept saying I was slow. I guess I feel bad saying that now, because obviously I beat 100 people. I just mean I'm not a superstar speedster type. I'm right in the middle. You can't get any more mid-pack than me. 100th out of 203. The winner, Zach Bitter. So again, we saw an unbelievable performance, a new world record. Zach Bitter, 32 of Phoenix, Arizona. His time, 12:08:36. Let me repeat that. 12:08:36. 08:36, less than half my time. Okay, so he finished an hour after I did 50 miles. Remember, I left 50 miles at 11 hours. An hour later, he finished the whole race. He destroyed even what Camille Herron did last year. She did it in 12:42. This is 12:08:36 is a new 100-mile trail world record. This is considered a trail. It's the easiest trail in the universe, but it's technically considered a trail. So he blew that away. Watching him was just freaking unbelievable. Just flying. Of course, the cool thing about this race is you see everyone a few times because they're going to go by you one way or the other. So I saw him 3 times or so, just flying, just unbelievable, just like he's running a 10K. So that was Zach Bitter. Second place was a former course record holder, Mike Bialik, 37 of Minnetonka, Minnesota. He was 12:56:53. I think that's his fastest time, and that's incredible. 12:56:53, and he was still 50 minutes behind Zach Bitter. Third was Alexander Blywis. He's 28 of Chicago, 14:58:44. On the female side, Neela D'Souza, 41 of Pickering, Ontario, 16:52:30. Second place, Steph Whitmore, 40 of Ankeny, Iowa, 16:57:40. 5 minutes. 5 minutes. And by the way, Steph Whitmore is a friend of mine. She's from Ankeny, Iowa. I'm originally from Iowa. I put on a race in Iowa, the Hawkeye 50K, and she won it one year. That's how we originally met. And I've seen her a couple other times here and there at races. These two women both look fantastic. I don't know if Steph knew she was only 5 minutes behind the winner. Wow, that's so close, though. Steph is a great runner. She's got course records in a couple of places. She's won 100-mile races here and there. She's a fantastic runner. She's also done Ironman races. Third place was Megan Smith, 34 of Dallas, Texas, in 17:03:26. She was only 6 minutes behind Steph. So the top 3 females were about 11 minutes apart. Pretty amazing. 50-mile winners. I'm probably not saying this right. Maxime Chapalev. I'm sorry. I know I ruined that. Lafayette, Indiana, and 5:59:29. Isn't that awesome? Just broke 6 hours. 5:59:29. Nicole Monette of Oxford, Michigan won the women 6:37:07. She was third overall. Impressive. The marathon results were not listed in Ultra Sign Up, and I didn't look elsewhere for those. After the race, I got a Casey's Pizza. I did that last time. Yeah, I know, great. But, I just wanted something in my gut. I hadn't eaten in a while. Now that I stopped, I could eat something. So there's a Casey's. The Midwest, a lot of places have Casey's convenience stores, gas stations. And they actually have really good pizza. Go get their pizza. So I got a couple slices of that. Same thing I did last time. And Deb drove me home. That was it. After the race, I got my picture with the race director, Steve Durbin. I almost forgot his first name, Steve Durbin. That was it. I didn't hang around very long, maybe a little bit, and got my stuff and went home. So let's talk about the swag I got. So you get a bib, which is a personalized bib. Well, no, it doesn't say my name on it. It says Tunnel Hill 150. I was number 351. Got a little picture of the tunnel on it. It's a pack pickup stuff I got. I got a hat. So I got a hat 2 years in a row. I think last year was a black hat I might have gotten. This is kind of a gray hat. It says Tunnel Hill 150-mile runs. It's got a little guy running in the tunnel. Got a shirt. I like this type of shirt. It's a thin cotton long sleeve shirt, but it's got like a little hoodie, which is kind of neat. It's just very simple. It says Tunnel Hill 150-mile run, Vienna, Illinois. I'm holding these things up to the camera. You may or may not be able to see them. I'll also put pictures of them on the show notes at runsmith.net. By the way, it's kind of interesting at Packet Pickup. They just have all this stuff sitting out on tables. I guess if you're a rotten person, you can grab 2 hats, whatever. And they kind of had a mixture of this year and what was left over last year. So I could have gotten a black hat again, or that gray shirt. They had the black ones from last year. But I already have the black ones, so I got the gray ones. They're all just sitting out. Let's see, I got a bag, one of these drawstring bags. It says Durbin Race Management on it. Probably got a few of those because I've done his race a few times. Oh, really nice jacket. Now I got a black jacket last year. This year a gray jacket. So I guess gray was kind of the theme. I love this type of jacket. It's a kind of a rain jacket, thin, zips up the front and has a hood. I really like these. Really nice. And on the front, it's got a little guy running. Says Tunnel Hill 100-mile run on the front. So people can see that, think you're cool. And on the back, very big letters, Tunnel Hill 100, and some sponsor information. So there you go. So everybody knows that you're really cool and ran 100 miles. So, and finally, last but not least, got a medal. And the funny thing is, I don't know which medal is from which year. They're identical, the two medals. I'm holding the two medals up to the camera, but this is the same medal as far as I can tell. There's no year on it. Speaking of medals, my wife for Christmas got me a belt that you can put medals on. Now, I'm so dumb. I did not know you needed a special belt. I thought somehow these medals went on any belt you have. But she bought me a belt. I don't know where she got it, but it's got a little special thing so you can put if you've never seen one of these, that's right there on the camera. You put the medal in there. It's made for these medals. All right? So she got me one of those. I haven't done it yet because it's a slightly too big and I have to make a new hole in it. So I need to make the new hole in the belt to use it. But I don't know. I guess maybe I'll do it sometime. It sounds funny to me to wear my buckle, and no one's ever going to see it because I always wear shirts that hang over the belt, so no one will see it. But it might make me feel good, I guess, to wear the buckle. Kind of like the idea. Okay, so there it is with all this. You get a lot of good stuff, so that's kind of nice. Hey, let's get to the interview. I got an interview with a couple of friends of mine, Mark Thompson and Nate Canton. Let's listen to that right now. Okay, I'm with a couple of buddies of mine, Mark Thompson and Nate Canton. Mark Thompson of Iowa City, Iowa. Nate Canton, you're in North Liberty, is that right?
Correct.
First question, Nate, have you ever run Tunnel Hill before?
I have not. This was my first one.
And Mark, I think you ran it before, right?
Yeah, I dropped last year at 77.
So why did you go all the way to 77 and drop? Because I remember seeing you out there.
Yeah, it was because, at that point is when it got really hard, and I just didn't have that motivation to continue.
That would be one more full out and back yet to go.
Yeah, one more full out and back, and I was at that 15-minute mile, 20-minute mile phase, so we're talking, 4 hours of cold and darkness. And, I didn't have a real crew there or buddies there, so having finished 100 before, I thought, do I want to go home at 8 p.m. or midnight? So. Did
you just have a fast crash, or were you slowly dying on the miles before that?
Pretty fast, right at 62.
62. That'd be the turnaround.
Yeah, and then 62, 65. I'm thinking, hey, I'm going to pass guys, and then I got back to the nicest aid station with the hot soup. And,
Karnak.
Yeah, and I'm not sure the name, but that sounds right. And I sat there for
the one on the first out and back. Yeah, it's called Karnak.
And I sat there for an hour having soup and sitting by the fire, and then I thought, well, I'll try to jog back to the start line, and right away it's 15-minute miles. So I said I don't need to
obviously
walk in the woods.
Your goal wasn't to get a Western States ticket.
No,
because some people would probably just keep going just to get the Western States ticket.
At that point, I was just blown out. Just motivation was gone. So
you were way below what you were hoping to do anyway.
Yeah, I knew I wasn't going to catch guys. I was thinking that I could have placed, but at that I would have probably really fallen back.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go to this year. Had a pretty cold start, but nothing horrible. Cold. Well, it's kind of weird because the cold front just came in. Mm-hmm. I think that's what caught people off guard. It'd be something if it was December or January, but it came in quickly, and people, I think, weren't prepared.
I was not prepared.
Yeah, a lot of people weren't prepared, which makes me feel like a rookie that I wasn't totally prepared because I do cold weather all the time, but I got caught off. Maybe I have frozen water. Let's see if you guys have that. We'll get to that later. That's where I felt like a rookie. It was really stupid. Anyway, so let's do it kind of by 25 miles each, because a race you go out and back 25 roughly, out and back 25. Repeat that 4 times.
It's like a pendulum.
Kind of. So let's do the first out and back, which is, I think, southbound.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah, you go south about 12 and a half, then back 12 and a half. So Nate, how did that part go for you?
That part was good. I mean, it started off a little chillier than we thought, but it was actually pretty ideal for the first part of the race with the sun. We were all grouped up. There was a pack of 4 of us and a bunch of other guys along for the ride. So
Who were the 4 Thursday guys? You two and
Jake Miller and
Jake
Lance
Miller.
Cundy.
Jake
was running the 50, yep.
and Lance. So Lance ended up finishing with you, right?
Yeah,
With you?
that's right.
Okay. So you 4 guys were grouped together the whole first 25 miles.
Just take it easy. Let's let it roll. Just stay together.
Did you drop any clothing at Karnak? That's what I did. I
don't think anybody dropped
I had
anything.
that planned. I knew I was going to drop a little.
No, I think I might have shoved.
We shed a layer, I think, just in our own stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just didn't warm up as much as I thought I would because I started with a light jacket that I was going to toss, but I just kept it on. Yeah, I don't think I didn't throw anything.
So Mark, how'd the first 25 go for you? First out and back.
It was better than last year because I had this year I think I was in better shape, and I don't know, just last year when I started off, I was just already feeling tired and needing to warm up. Here I felt all right. And, the big thing was going to be like, how close are we going to stay? Like, if I go to the bathroom, is somebody going to wait for a minute there?
Yeah.
But what we did is something like that. And, the other guys would maybe lower their pace a little bit and catch up after 3 miles or something like that. And so that's what was happening is, I'd stop and then catch up, and it was feeling really good, especially as we got back to the start-finish line at 25, because everybody was out cheering. It was sunny. It was reasonable that we were going to be warm for a while now. So those were a good 25 miles, and all 4 of us just crossed the bridge into the finish line together. Got some good pictures there, so that was pretty cool.
Okay, the second 25 is when it's going to start getting a little more interesting. So we're going to head to the tunnel, to that aid station and back. So how'd that go for you, Nate?
It was good. I knew that it was going to be gradually uphill, but you wouldn't really notice it. But I was looking forward to the tunnel. That was like the prize to get to the end. Like,
you haven't seen the tunnel before.
I hadn't seen it, so I was like, this is exciting. Yeah, and you're going between these rocks and over like 5 or 6 bridges. You see some little valleys.
Yeah, there's a little bit of more sightseeing.
Yeah, there's more sightseeing, and you're a little more by yourself. So, but that part went good as well. It was still sunny. I was starting to pass a couple people, and we had separated a little bit.
Was the guy playing the drum when you went through there? You guys might have been a little too quick.
Yeah,
there was a guy.
I don't remember a drum.
I remember.
Right at the mouth of the tunnel. It was the coolest sound.
Oh no, not
wow,
there.
no,
that
no.
would have been cool.
It was
It would
super
have been a nice
cool.
echo and stuff.
Yeah, it was echoing, and it was really neat. So at that aid station, did you change any clothing or anything? You're still wearing the same stuff pretty
Still
much?
same stuff.
I did a lot of clothing off and on
Yeah.
at those aid stations.
Yeah, I had a jersey and arm sleeves. That was it, and shorts.
I think I threw something for Anna to pick up,
Yeah, my kids were there.
like
yeah.
a hat or something. I mean, something small, not my jacket.
I was constantly changing what was up top, on top, and gloves. Like I had 2 pair of gloves. I'd sometimes go to 1 pair of gloves, sometimes 2 pair of gloves. What was on my head was changing.
It was weird. Yeah, if you went into the shade a little bit, it got cold, but the sun felt good. So yeah, there was a variation, I think.
And that was our warmest stretch, is running back into the sun. I mean, there were some pretty bright, warm moments heading back south to hit 50 miles after we had the northern turnaround through the tunnel.
So, Mark, your second 25, you're still feeling okay?
I was probably feeling the best at that point.
That's funny because I think I do too. I don't know why, because in an ultra, the quarter of an ultra usually doesn't feel, I feel achy and funny. So yeah, the second 25, I probably felt better than the first. I know I'm less fresh, but the body is
smooth.
more
Yeah.
oiled. or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. I mean,
Some
I'm
weird thing
definitely
about
better after 2 hours or so.
it. Yeah.
In any run, an hour or 2 in, I'm feeling a little bit better.
Do you know what pace you guys are running this first 50 miles,
boy.
roughly?
Pretty fast.
What?
I mean, we went through and
What 5? No.
7:47.
the first.
Zach our crazy Zach,
Yeah.
went through in 5:40. So
Yeah.
you guys are probably 6 something.
Yeah, high 6. Yeah, so just under 7 hours when we left 50 Mile. And for the first 25, we were probably averaging 740s. Like, we knew that was not sustainable, but it just felt easy. We just clocked them off.
Yeah, I have no real problem. In a marathon, you don't want to bank time so much, but in an ultra, I don't have as big a problem with that.
Yeah.
Banking time, I guess. Because it doesn't matter how fast or slow I go the first half, I'm going to be petering out the second half. So I might as well, as long as I'm feeling okay.
Yeah.
And that's what Zach
Run
Bitter
all
does
right.
as well. He knows he's going to fade, so he...
Yeah, you're not going to negative split a 100-mile race. Unless, I mean, I don't think anyone does.
And I don't know enough about it, too. I haven't figured it out.
Oh,
You know?
yeah.
Like, the 50-miler, I think I've got a pretty decent hold on how to do it. But the 100, I am a rookie. I've done, 4 or 5 of them or something like that, and this was new.
Yeah. All right, so if you're done in under 8 hours, that means it's only about 3 in the afternoon or something.
Mm-hmm. Sun's bright.
So it's bright, but
you can
only
see it
got
starting to
another
go
hour and a
down.
half.
Yeah, you're like, oh, it's November.
Yeah,
It's
because
gonna
it
be
was
going down
6.
quick.
It was exactly 6 p.m. when I left. 11:00. My watch said when I left 50 miles. So you guys are about 3 hours ahead of me there, and it was already. I had my headlamp on a little bit the last mile 48 to 50. I had my headlamp on. So
Yep.
you guys probably had to grab your headlamps at the start finish.
I'm trying to remember.
So did you make a
No, we
decent-
had Anna take him to Karnak.
Did you have a little
Yep.
extra stop there for fuel or
Just a
grabbing
little
some
bit,
stuff?
yeah.
Yeah.
And then our crew, my wife and kids, went down to Karnak and brought headlamps and a couple things.
So you went without headlamps all the way to Karnak?
Yep.
That's pretty good.
Turned them on heading back north.
Actually, yeah, going north, we went to the turnaround and
All the way
back.
to the turnaround. So are your? I mean, there's really the 3. There's a little baby aid stations which you just kind of
Yeah.
maybe stop for seconds, but the other 3, you guys are getting through them pretty fast, right? A minute or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, if that. Yeah, the start finish line with clothes, that was where we were very much rookies. Is we don't know what to wear, and the stuff I was wearing is stuff I would wear if I'm running here in 0 degrees,
Yeah.
and I'm still cold, and it's a mystery. It's because moving so slow, and it's been
Sweating,
all
yeah.
day, and so I just didn't know what to do. What do I wear? What do I grab? I never want to race in pants, but I'm going slow enough. Maybe I should grab my pants. That's where a lot of time was spent. A lot of time was wasted.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's getting a bit ahead of it. So
Okay, so now 50 miles are in. Legs should be feeling it a little bit. I'm going to head back south again, which is tough because you know what's ahead. You got a long way to go. You've already seen it. All the novelty is completely gone because
It's your race.
you're going to do it again.
Yeah.
and you know it's going to be dark.
Yeah.
You know it's going to get colder.
Yeah. So Nate, how'd that second time on the southbound?
It was
go?
still good for the first 5 miles. I'd seen.
Are you got all 4 of you still together?
We're separated.
Oh, you're all separated?
Yep, we're all
So
separated.
this is the big.
You and Lance are together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it then Jake and then you, or you and then
Jake did just finished the 50.
Oh, that's right.
He was behind me.
A little behind you.
Yep. And then I had gone just over 7 hours, so I was heading south, following those guys.
Because the weird thing was, we were together for 25, and then when we head north for the second 25, Nate had to run to the bathroom, and we had spent maybe 5 minutes already. And I'm like, I'm just going to get going. And Lance popped out too. And we found out that Nate maybe left a minute later.
Mhm.
And the big question is what if we just would have waited a minute, all stuck together, and would we have stuck together then for the next 75 miles? But we just kept waiting for Nate to kind of catch up. We weren't really specifically slowing down. But then we get to the next one, and it's okay, maybe he's 5 minutes, and then maybe 10. And it's, at that point, I guess we just didn't want to wait for 10.
This is still going back towards 50.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're thinking-
yeah. So it's probably 5 minutes after. I'd say 5 minutes and 50 miles is where we were different.
The bathroom break got it.
Yeah.
Jake and I hit that.
And we just wonder what would have gone differently. Because then we all 3 could have maybe run the whole thing together. But we were just racing, I guess.
So Mark, let's go to you since you're a little ahead. Your next, the southbound out and back. How did that go?
Then-
So you're gonna turn your light on. So you're gonna make it all the way to mile 63.
Yeah.
That's about when you turn your light on. And is that when you said you started feeling a little something?
What happened then is that the year before, that's where I was just
Oh, that
lights
year
out.
before, that's where you fell apart, kind of.
Yeah, but
So this year, you get there, and you're feeling okay still.
I'm feeling good, and I'm really feeding off Lance. It's his first 100. He's youthful, full of energy, and it's really important for him to finish, right? Again, like when I was there the year before, I just stopped caring at a certain point.
Right.
But there was a lot of energy he was putting off, and I'm like, let's go with this. Well, then we're running along, and we catch up to Mike Borst. And, and so we're moving up the chain a bit. And
is this on the way still going south?
Going south. And we you know, he just says, hey, I'm doing 15-minute miles. I'm done. He said something along the lines of, like, his crew is, like, jokingly mean because they sent him on his way and wouldn't let him quit. But we just started chatting with him, and, like, you could see how his spirits were lifted. And he mentioned that on Facebook as well after the race.
Cool.
So he stuck with us for maybe 10 miles. Or we stuck with him through the aid station going back north again because he was really quick. His crew just gave him his stuff, dropped his bottles, and rolled out. But we were with him for maybe 10 miles and shared a lot of stories and talked about some old races we had done together. And that was a big pickup. And I know that it kind of shifted his race as well because then he took off and finished really well.
Nice.
So that was, you know, like the Borst chapter of the story where Lance and I were just talking to him and getting to know him and hearing his stories.
So you turn around and come back. And at some point you see Nate, now you know where Nate is.
Yeah, and that's where it was like 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes at that point at the very most. And then...
you go back through Karnak again.
Yeah.
And you stop there or just...
And that's where Borst took off, and we took a minute or two to grab stuff and grab our lights from Anna, and then start heading north in the dark, on towards 75.
So that part was okay?
That was still okay.
Stretch was okay?
It was where I think Lance was getting a bit tired, and he'd walk just for a bit. You know, hey, I'm going to walk for 0.1, and then we'll run a mile. Okay. Like, I was just trying to chat and sing songs and tell stories and stuff. I was still with it. I was still together.
Right.
It was still in the normal realm of running things.
All right. So, Nate, how'd that 25 miles go for you?
I was feeling pretty good through 50 going south. I saw Camille Heron. She was out for a run.
I never did see her except at the very beginning.
She was at a bridge.
I knew she was going to be out there.
Yeah, she was very, just like herself, smiley.
She's fun
like, hey, good job.
Yeah.
I was like, Thursday loves you. And she's like,
you can't help but like be happy and smile when you see her.
So I was like, my energy was good. I was like, wow, I just saw the lady who won it last year. And going south to Karnak, I felt good. And then that section where you're going there to the turnaround and back was my low spot.
I agree. That's a tough spot.
The sun was like at the horizon. I hadn't put my lamp on yet, and I just, for whatever reason, felt no momentum.
It seems to take a little longer than you want it to go from Karnak to that turnaround.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be quicker.
Like, it's just a couple miles. It should be quick. But it feels more like it's 4 miles or something out and 4 miles back, and I don't think it is.
Long.
But so you come back to Karnak.
And then I got some soup, got my lamp and everything, and then I had the switch flipped. I had a great stretch back to the start. Like, I was passing people. I had gotten in a rhythm. I was doing, a lot faster miles.
Well, probably a lot of people are crashing right
Yeah, they're crashing right there. It's kind of that time where it just got dark. I kind of fed off it, I think, with the light and the darkness, and just, I guess I'd call it momentum.
All right, so you get to 75-ish now.
Yep.
Did you take much of a break there?
I didn't take a whole lot. My one mistake was not taking pants. For some reason, I thought my legs would be fine. And I was cruising, and I'm just like, you know what? I don't want to deal with trying to pull them over my shoes.
I know that feeling.
Yeah, I was just like, I want to keep my, pace going.
And then every time you stop, your temperature plummets.
Yeah, it plummets, yeah.
So you got through that pretty good?
I didn't spend much time and didn't change my pants.
Did you have any soup or anything?
I had no soup or anything, just a sandwich and some Ensure at the tent, and just like warmed my hands up for like 10 seconds. But I was feeling in the groove, so I was like, I'm not going to wreck it.
Yeah.
Just keep going.
So how much of a stop did you make at that?
Big stop. We did a full kit change.
Oh, okay.
I had run the first 75 in some racing flats, and foot was starting to hurt a little bit, and Lance wanted to change out his gear as well. So, pants, new shoes, grabbed my extra running jacket, again, like my 0 degree gear.
Right.
0 degree hat, same gloves as before. Then I pull on the pants, and for me, I'm like, oh, do I really want these? And right away, my legs are too hot. And I'm like, I hate running in pants. It's race day. But we probably spent 5 minutes. It got chilly. I mean, we became cold.
Yeah.
And at that point, too, I'm like pretty much done eating, and it's so cold that you don't want to drink anything.
Yeah, that's true. The last 25, I probably ate and drank very little. And I don't even think that's. You could say, well, that's a problem. I don't even think it was a problem. I didn't need food anymore, and I didn't need much liquid.
No.
I mean, a little bit of water, and I was fine. I didn't need a ton of food at that point. I had eaten so much up until then, or
you
enough,
can actually feel your stomach sometimes.
Yeah, I'd eaten enough that I knew I could carry myself. For me, the next 6 hours wasn't going to be a big issue.
Because what I'm thinking though is
when it's that cold,
it's cold, so you're not sweating,
right?
You're breathing out a whole lot of, because you saw how cold it is, how much moisture is coming out.
Yeah.
But I was thinking hey, I don't normally eat at night anyway, so.
Right. I mean, I still ate, but I was, I had a couple of granola bars, and I
2 chips.
ate them a little bit. Yeah, a little bit here and there, but it's I don't feel hungry, and I don't feel out of energy, because I don't feel like I need the food.
Right.
I feel like I'm suffering because I'm not eating a bunch of food.
I was low on energy, but my stomach didn't want anything, even broth. Or
my stomach really didn't want it, but I didn't feel I was any worse off without it, if that makes sense.
When we got to the next aid station, they had coffee. I'm like, I can do some coffee,
Yeah.
So got a cup of coffee, and then they had the half and half. So I dumped a lot in, because I knew that's where I could get some calories and some fat, which is going to make my stomach feel good. I drink that. Fast forward on the way back, and I'm like, hey, that coffee was great. I got to get some more. And I'm like, oh, we're out. I'm like, wait, no, it's frozen. So I took the coffee and dumped it into their half and half, and shook it around, and then I dumped that out into my cup. But
nice.
Yeah, it started to get really cold.
So let's go to your very last 25-ish.
Yeah.
How did that go?
So the 12 out was
all pitch black now, right?
Pitch black, yeah. Headlamps. Starting to see runners going the other direction. Don't know if they're finishing the 50 or.
Yeah, that's true. Sometimes you're wondering what they were doing.
Yeah, what's going on with that? See people in a lot worse shape. People that are really underdressed, and you're wondering what they're thinking. Like in a t-shirt, or you're not moving fast enough to create heat. But this is where Lance was. Again, let me walk for a 0.1. I'm like, that's cool, because I don't care when we finish. And I was still chipper and feeling good. But maybe around 85, 90, that changed. And it was definitely me that was holding them back. And I was just, very tired, very cold, wasn't generating any heat, didn't want to eat anything except for that coffee that I mentioned. And really, I think if it weren't for Lance, kind of forcing me to do these, maybe a 12-minute mile or something, I probably just would have walked it in and been really cold.
Yeah. No kidding.
So it was just, and I was achy, the kind of body breakdown that is not, it's something you only feel in 100, where it's not this is hard on my muscles because I'm running so hard. It's no, this is hard on my bones.
This is fossilization happening. Yep. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, and so when that
there's no other description for what that feels like. There's
and that's why I quit the year before. No other feeling
I've ever gotten, and what that is like.
At the end of a marathon, it's hey, I'm exhausted. Energy cramping, muscles, but you never feel like this.
Yeah.
And so that's why I quit the year before. I'm I don't need to hurt my body pushing through this. I would have got the Western States ticket, but I just said, at that point you're why would I want to run Western States? That's also very hard.
So what was your final time?
16:27.
And,
is that right?
And you got 6. You and Lance basically tied for 6.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I had a 16. So the only goal I had stated to anybody was that I wanted to get my PR, which was actually 10 minutes faster than that. And so that totally would have been doable.
Where was your PR?
It was at Burning River.
Really? I thought that's pretty good, because I think I hear Burning River is fairly tough. It's hotter than heck, and it's
and so I got a good year where it rained the whole time, so it kept the temperature down. So it was sloppy, and there was mud and falling down and stuff, but it kept me cool, and I didn't have to eat or drink as much, so it was kind of ideal. But as that slipped away, I just thought, well, what's the point of getting to 10-minute faster time?
Nate, how's your last 25?
It was basically I felt the same momentum to the tunnel, And then when I stopped at that aid station, I just had the shivers.
Uh-oh.
And I saw those guys going out to that turnaround on the north side, and I was actually gaining ground.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
And I was like, that gave me confidence when I hit
Wait,
the
so
turnaround.
they were coming back?
They were coming back, yep. And it was
You
before
guys kind
that
of met
last
right at the
day.
aid station?
No, in between there.
Oh, between the tunnel and the aid
Yep.
station.
Yeah, so...
And I bet you were making ground the whole way north.
Yeah.
Like, from Karnak.
Yep. Which was really encouraging, but I was by myself. I wasn't wearing enough clothes. And I hit that turnaround, and I just shivered. And like you said before, it was bones hurting, not muscles.
Yeah,
it's like my knees.
really deep.
Yeah, my hips. I was just like so cold I couldn't move my legs. So I was like, it feels better to walk.
Did you stop at the little fire there at all? They had that little fire pit.
No, I was afraid I wouldn't get going, so I just went.
I only stopped there because I texted. My wife's at the hotel.
Yeah.
I make her go sleep because she's
Yeah.
got to drive home. So then
Yeah.
that was like 5 a.m. for me. So I stopped there and texted her like, I think I'm 2 hours from finishing or whatever. And so
Yeah.
I stopped at that little fire. But you know what amazes me, and you guys didn't do this, and this may sound almost condescending if I don't say it right. I'm amazed at people who can actually stop and sit.
Oh, yeah.
I would,
think so, too.
because I know if I did that, that's the end.
Beware of the chair.
Yeah, that's the famous
and
thing.
no, I don't mind sitting for a couple minutes.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
fine. But people will sit there for like an hour. They're bundled up around a fire, blankets, cozy. And I'm like, and I know I come in, they're there. Like I come to an aid station and they're there, and I do the whole on and back, and they're still there.
Yeah.
And yet I think some of them get up and go again. That is impressive.
Yeah.
There's no way if I sat more than 10 minutes or
No.
5 minutes, I'm going to go again.
Yeah.
No.
And I know
that's-
one lady, when I got to, at mile 75, I went into the tent. There was a lady sitting there who I thought she said she was like done or something. She was sitting there, I got soup, I go out, I go, and this is, 6 hours or 7 hours for me to go the last 75 miles because I'm just walking the whole thing, like 7 hours. I go all the way out and come back. I'm an hour from the finish. I see her going out. That means she sat there for 5 hours. 5 hours. She sat at mile 75 and then went. Isn't that impressive?
That's impressive.
Shouldn't your body be completely locked? Imagine, you know what you felt like 5 hours after the race. You couldn't even get out of the car.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
And she
Yeah.
got up and ran.
Yeah.
Or kept going.
That's more
I couldn't even sleep at that point because I'm
Oh,
so
yeah.
sore.
No, I can never sleep right afterwards.
Yeah.
Because it's so much pain, and I can't get in any position to
Yeah.
alleviate
Yes.
the pain.
Mm-hmm.
So I have like 2 nights almost of that. And
Yeah.
then as soon
You
as
get
I
that
fall
later.
asleep,
Yeah.
as soon as I fall asleep, I'm running and I trip.
Yeah.
And I wake up,
Yep.
which I don't know why I'm tripping.
mind
because
is
it's Tunnel
going
Hill.
crazy, yeah.
I imagine myself running, my little legs are kind of going, and I'll trip and wake myself up because I thought I tripped.
Yeah.
It's two pretty bad nights.
Yep.
Anyway, so when you
Yeah.
came in, you were still running at the end?
No,
All right.
so the last aid station, what is it, 10 miles in? Is it 90
last
miles?
aid station, you're only
8
like
miles.
2.5 miles from
No,
the
not the
finish.
last one, sorry, the last main one.
Oh, yeah,
before
that's
the,
like a mile.
at the tunnel.
It's like 10.
Yeah, 10.
10 miles.
That was
9
walk,
to 10.
hike, my legs didn't work, and I didn't want to sit down because it's mental. Every time you sit down, you're like, I could be way up there right
Yes.
now. I just wanted to suffer through and shivered and powered walk, and Bryson walked with me, my son, 15-year-old, and he was just kind of there
The
to,
whole 10 miles?
yep,
Oh, wow.
yeah, I just kept talking about how I was so cold and how my body hates me, and let's just
Was he
get to
all
the
bundled
end.
up?
Sort of. He wasn't, not enough. He didn't have enough
Oh,
clothes.
he was cold, too.
Yeah, he was getting cold. His toes are getting cold. But I was like, we can't afford to stop. We'll just get colder. So, and that was the disappointing part. It was a 90-mile race for me, and then I lost an hour,
Yeah.
walking when I could have downhill, slightly. If I could have just ran it, it would have been much better. But
So what was your final time?
18:18,
18:18.
Yep.
So what time in the morning is it when you guys finish?
1:18 for me. You guys
It
are
was
just before midnight.
Yeah, right before midnight.
Yeah, so when you were finished is about when I was at its coldest. I would
Yeah,
say
it
probably
was
about
really
2 in the
cold.
morning because I'm just getting back to the start finish at that point. All right, well you guys made it. So you ended up you got 10th, is that right?
10th male, yeah.
10th male, very nice. You got beat by a female.
Yeah, I got
in
by
play?
3, I think.
Really?
3 or 4, yeah.
Does Steph Whitmore beat you? She's fast, man.
I believe
She
so.
was second.
Yeah, she
From Iowa?
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's the one from like Marshalltown.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
won the Hawkeye 50K one year.
Yeah.
There was a couple on that.
She's got course records at a couple places.
When I was on the turnaround, when I started hiking, there was a couple looked good.
Yeah, she
just
had a
kept
really
that
good day.
same
She only lost by like
stride.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
Speaking of amazing people, what was it like seeing Zach Bitter out there? Was that just bizarre or what?
It was just, he was just all smiles and just running, what I would call like a marathon pace. You know, just pop, pop, pop,
On
pop,
his
pop,
toes,
pop, pop, pop.
on his midfoot.
Yeah.
It was funny. My son Briggs, he's 8. He found Bitter's little nozzle for his hydro pack.
What?
Yeah, at one of the aid stations, and he knew whose it was.
How do you know whose it was?
Maybe because he's so far ahead that when he came back from the turnaround, I think it was at the tunnel aid station. He gave it back to him, and he's like, "Oh, thanks, little guy."
That's funny.
That saved me. Yeah, it's like perfect.
Briggs gets the assist on the record.
Yeah, he should.
Yeah.
Any other interesting things you saw out there you can think of?
Oh man. Well, finished, and it was just time to get warm.
So what you guys do? So see, that's what's weird for you. I'm finishing, and it's like breakfast time, but you guys are finishing at midnight to 1 in the morning. What do you guys? Did you go eat? Did I see you went and ate like McDonald's and ordered everything, or was that the next morning?
That was me the next morning.
That's the next morning. So you guys go to
I
a
got my
hotel, you go
appetite
back to a
then.
hotel?
No, we just stayed in a pop-up camper there.
Oh.
Yeah, we had a hotel. The other 3 of us did.
Yeah.
But it was, sit there at the finish, warming up in that depot station with electric blankets that they had set up there. Then Nate finished, and it was everybody's wanted to crash.
Yeah.
Luckily, luckily Jake had done the 50 miler and had showered and recovered that he could take care of us.
Oh, yeah.
I got your gear, I got your bag, I got your totes. I'll drive. Like, if I had been there alone, I just would have turned on the heater and slept in the car.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd have been lucky to do that. Get back, shower, try to sleep, get breakfast, and he could drive the whole next day.
Oh yeah, that's nice.
That was super nice.
All right, so a little bit of gear stuff. Mark, what shoes did you wear? I think you said you changed shoes.
You asked Nate first coming around.
Nate, what shoes did you wear?
I wear 2 pairs of Pegasus, Nike Pegasus.
Really?
I knew it was going to be flat. I knew, I just went for what I trained in. So that was what I trained in on the roads and on the gravel.
It's actually, I've not worn those.
Yeah.
I haven't tried those, but I know they're fairly
It's
popular.
a steady cushion shoe. It's not super heavy. It's not super light, but it's kind of your steady Eddie trainer. So, and it wouldn't give me blisters. There's no seams or anything on them.
No,
so
that's good.
That's key.
So Mark, what do you have here? These look like shoes for a 5K track race.
Yes.
Are you serious?
Yes.
So what
are these?
This is an Asics Piranha.
Yeah, tell him what he's holding
I
there.
mean, this must weigh less than 4 ounces.
You are. I'm going to go ahead and let you weigh this on the kitchen scale, and you can see how close you are on that.
I'm weighing it. Look at that, 3.75 ounces.
Yeah.
Incredible. I weighed it.
I wore them for the Grand Blue Mile, the Ice Age 50, Des Moines Half Marathon. What was the 50 I did? Tussey Mountain Bike, so gravel. And then at mile 75, I'm like, I'll try to do 100 in these. And then I'm like, no, let's switch to like more of an 8-ounce Mizuno shoe. So, but anyway.
Do you run barefoot sometimes? Because you might as well be.
Like, that's the thing. Like this little bit of a drop here and this cushion. Like I can't do 5 fingers, and I can't. I mean, I would go much slower. And it's really stressful on my calves. But this is ideal.
Was it a 2 millimeter drop or something?
Maybe.
Not much. It's hard to tell now.
It used to have
Yeah.
at one point.
And
They
the
did
only
not
time
design
that
that for 100 miles.
actually hurt my foot is in the Des Moines half. Like I was running on gravel for the 50 miles, but you know what you're doing. You're going at a slower pace. But Des Moines half, I'm sprinting, and there was just a big piece of gravel there on the roadway, and just pop. And
Ouch.
I still got a bruise. It's been there for over a month. But anyway,
Crazy. Now I want to get a picture of those.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it is kind of silly, and people will make fun. But that's
Well, if you can do it, I always say if you run in as little shoe as you can,
yeah.
it's good.
And the thing is,
If
like,
it doesn't kill you, I guess.
there is no
right?
transitioning down to a 5 fingers, or even like an ultra. Like their racers, I think, are more difficult because it's totally flat, and this has a
Yeah.
bit of a drop on it. And somehow it's just that's what works for me.
It's crazy.
So,
All right, what about how'd you carry liquids?
I wore an Ultimate Direction Jerk lightweight vest,
Oh, okay.
the Ultra.
You have
Kinda.
two bottles up front?
Yeah, yep. That's what I mainly use. I have pockets for all the other stuff, but I just find that I carry more stuff than I actually use sometimes. But it kept me warm.
You have gels at least?
Yeah. It kept me warm. I had gels
Yeah,
in there,
I
like
actually
a
use it a
granola
little
bar.
bit for warmth. Do you have the soft water bottles? Or
Yes, yeah, the soft flask.
That's the same thing I have. Soft.
Yeah. And I drank them more regularly, having them on me. So
Do you have long straws on them or short straws?
No,
I got these other new bottles that have long straws on them, so you can easily drink while you're moving. Otherwise, it's a pain to.
It's a pain. But I've recently not liked the taste of the nipple on that, so I'll just unscrew it and drink it.
Really?
Yeah. And that's
a lot of work.
It's more work, but it's better than having a gut ache from that plastic taste. I don't know.
All right. So, Mark, what'd you do for?
carried. Well, my plan was I had a backpack and I also had a belt. And this belt has a lot of pockets, and it worked really well for the 50 miles at Tussey. But immediately I realized that with gloves on, you can't do anything with that because it's a lot of how you'd feel.
Right.
And so it was worthless. And I had on kind of like a really lightweight but a bigger jacket. It had no insulation, but just two regular hands pockets. And that's why I was a rookie that, at 25 I strip off the belt and I'm running just with my jacket with zipper pockets here, and that's where I'd put stuff and it would flop around. And I just carried one soft flask.
Okay, what's up next for you guys? Nate, you have anything you're signed up for or thinking about?
Oh, yeah. The Psycho Waiko 50K and then also the Zumbro 50 mile.
Zumbro. Now, why 50? You just did the 100. I was kind of going to bring that Zumbro 100 up because that was redonkulous.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Because, okay, I've only got 3 DNFs. One is the Zumbro 50 mile, which I was totally unprepared for the year. And the course conditions were horrible. I didn't even have trail shoes. I didn't know what I was doing. And I did 2 laps.
The terrain is crazy.
Yeah, I didn't understand what the terrain was like. It was all ice when I ran it. But when you ran it, I think it was even worse. And you got like second place, right?
I got third.
That was, didn't like 80% dropped out or something. That was
It was only 17%
that was your first 100.
That was the first one, yeah. It only took
That was
20.
amazing.
29.
That was an incredible accomplishment.
Yeah.
I was following that kind of like, he's done. There's no way. There's no way you're going to go beyond 50 miles.
It's insane to think about it.
I mean, it was like ice and water and snow and
Snow,
freezing.
blizzard, yeah.
Blizzard,
Every single
right?
thing, yeah. Yep. Drifts. The howling wind on top of the ridge. It was...
Yeah, if people don't know Zumbro, it's a crazy race because you just don't know what the weather's going to bring.
Yeah, it was like the Bermuda Triangle.
So how come just the 50 this time?
I think something different,
It's fun you start at midnight.
Yeah,
I
you
did
start
go
at
back
midnight.
and do it just because I've got 3 DNFs and I went and got that one back.
I think if there's bad weather, I could do 3 laps pretty easily and quickly, but I don't know if I want to do bad weather 100 again.
It's kind of weird starting at midnight because like you'll try to sleep in your car for a couple hours beforehand or something.
It's weird, right?
It doesn't really work.
I'm going to have to get there early.
You're amped up, yeah.
Get there early and lay down a tent because I don't need to be running through the night without some rest. So that'll be a whole new game.
Yeah, you're doing this.
Yeah, we're doing the same 2 races.
Yep.
So.
I should do that again just so I can
Sign
review
up,
it.
Yeah, review it.
It's a fun race.
Sign up right now.
Yeah.
So what else you signed up for? Anything else?
Psycho Waiko.
Oh, so you guys do that every year.
We do that every year.
I did that one year, a long time ago.
Yeah, it's great.
I think you guys were there the year I did. Some really fast guy, maybe Matt Flaherty won.
Yeah, that
was he there once?
He was there, yeah.
And it was, the year
was
I
the snow
did it
year?
was the snow year.
Yeah, that was
It was
it.
like 3 feet of snow. I'm probably exaggerating. 2 feet, but you're like post holing.
Yeah, and it never packed down. Or
Yeah,
anything.
it was like mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
You would run through it once. 400 people run through it, so you think there's going to be a path, and the second time through it's the same way.
Yeah.
It's like there's still a big pile. How did people not pack it down?
Yeah.
They never packed down.
Yeah.
It was really weird.
And so
it just moved around.
And my calves were so sore just because my toes were digging in the whole time trying to get grip on all those hills again and again because it never got better.
That's 50K, right?
Yeah.
So is that 3 loops?
3 laps of 10, yep.
Yeah.
Matt Flaherty lapped me on that. I remember.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He was fast. I mean, he's a fast guy.
He's a fast
He
guy.
probably did it in like 4 hours or something, which was really fast that day.
Yeah.
But you guys go down there all the time, right?
Yeah, so we're going to rent a big house and hopefully we can bring 20 people along. Last year I think we had 24 runners.
Nice.
Maybe 20 people in the house.
Yep.
So it's a good time of year to get down there and and it gives you something to train for over the winter. So,
Anything else you guys got coming?
Valhalla.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Valhalla's coming.
First week of December or
Yes,
something?
correct.
that's right.
Yep.
All right.
Which is the date of the original Hawkeye 50K.
That's right, the Hawkeye 50K, which then was forced to move thanks to the
Yeah.
park ranger.
Yeah.
Didn't like that.
We like the December
I
dates.
know.
So what we did is the first year, then we came back and ran on that same date.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, no, it wasn't a sponsored or official. It was just, hey, let's, or sanctioned is what I'm looking for. We just kind of made a point like, no, we want to race in December.
That's
So
right.
we did it, and then we did it again, and then we started calling it Valhalla.
Yeah.
So Nate and I were having a conversation before this. We've done 8 Valhallas. And before that, it was your race in December.
Right.
We were kind of thinking that maybe that was the original Valhalla. That your Hawkeye 50K was the first Valhalla.
Sure, well, it was 2010.
Because the spirit of that race definitely, first off, it got us into ultra running.
Yep.
And the time of year, and it's just different to run in the spring or now in the late spring, or in prime race season in April when they hold the race. But, the spirit of that original run, I think, is what became Valhalla and a big part of the Thursday thing.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So we were like thinking about
Well,
what
it's the same loop, basically, except well, Thursday you guys don't do the
Just
little extra.
circumnavigation, yep.
So again, so the route you picked, minus that extra gnarly
Right.
section, and so yeah, I think that the spirit of yours, maybe that's the original Valhalla.
That's what I say.
All right, it's official.
Yeah.
So this year was going to be the 8th, but now it's the 9th,
ninth,
because
yeah.
you have the title of first Valhalla now.
There you go. All right. I think we're good. Any other longer term things you guys can think of down the road?
I got to get my tickets for Western States.
Western States?
Yep.
You
Another
probably have
qualifier.
Do you have just one ticket now?
Just one.
So you have a 1.5% chance or
Right.
something?
I got some work to do.
Never know.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, guys, for talking to me.
Yeah, thanks, Tim.
It's been
Thanks,
fun.
Tim.
Talk to you later.
Later, dude.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, there you go. Thank you very much, Mark and Nate. A few comments. You'll notice I did do some editing or little choppy spots. That's because I started blabbing too much. I talked way too much in that. I apologize for that. I think that's because I know the guys, and so I'm more chatty with them. If I'm interviewing someone I don't really know at all, I let them talk more. So sorry about all that. Me taking over the conversation so much. Just a few more statistics. Mark Thompson is 41 of Iowa City. He did come in 7th place. His time was 16:27:39, and his friend Lance Cundy, 28th, who was living in Iowa City. I think he was going to med school or something. He now lives in Minneapolis, Minnesota. His time was also 16:27:39. On Ultra Signup, Lance gets 6th and Mark 7th, but really they tied. Congratulations, Lance. A first 100. He comes in tied for 6 out of 200 finishers. That is really impressive. Nate did finish in 18:40. He was 10th overall. 10th male. I think he was actually 14th overall. There was the 3 women who finished right next to each other. Then one other woman just finished right ahead of Nate. Jake Miller, their 50-mile friend. I've not met Jake Miller, I think. Maybe I have, but I don't think I've really been introduced. He's 32 of North Liberty, the same place Nate lives, and his final time was 7:28:08. 7th male, 9th overall in the 50 miles. So all 4 of those guys can really, really run. Mark mentioned Michael Borst, that he ran with Michael Borst for a while. He's from La Crosse, Wisconsin. He's 25. He finished in 15:26:41. He was 4th overall. And he's really fast. He won a couple episodes ago. I reviewed the Mines of Spain 100K. He won it. So that was just a few weeks before this. We both did both the races. Michael Borst and I both did Mines of Spain 100K, then 3 weeks later the Tunnel Hill 100. Well, Michael Borst won the Mines of Spain 100K, and then came in 4th here. Very impressive. He's only 25, so we may be hearing more about that guy. A couple other comments. Notice how little time they spend in the aid stations. I mean, even when I'm fast through an aid station, I bet I easily rack up 3 to 4 minutes. Even the small aid stations where I just stop and do something minor. The major aid stations, I'm there for, I say 5 or 10 minutes, but I don't know. It could be 15. I probably really should, try to pay attention more, but it's really easy to stop, and before you blink an eye, it's 5 minutes. And you notice these fast guys get through the aid stations in a minute or 2 minutes or 3 minutes, a lot faster. And you might say, well, Tim, you could learn to do that. And I could, but I don't think it's quite that simple. I think it is actually part of their ability, their fitness. They are more fit than I am, and that helps allow them to get through the aid station faster. I mean, part of it is I get to an aid station, I'm so tired, I literally move slower, picking stuff up. Grabbing my drop bag off the ground and standing back up takes me 20 seconds just to do that. I'm in pain. Everything hurts. And I think they're more fit. They can grab it fast. Rifle through the stuff. They don't, for whatever reason, I think fitness plays a little bit of a role in their being able to do that. Granted, I need to learn to speed up as well. Let's see, I will have a picture of Mark's shoes. You should have felt those things. There was nothing to them. It's like what our cross-country kids wear. I mean, it was ridiculous how little he was running in. I can't believe that. By the way, I ran in my Hoka Challengers again. These are the same shoes I wore last year in the Tunnel Hill 100 mile. I don't mean the same brand and version, the exact same shoes. I ran 100 miles in them last year at Tunnel Hill, and I ran 100 miles in them this year in Tunnel Hill. So they work because they're not really very grippy or anything, and they got cushion, but they don't, you don't need anything grippy for Tunnel Hill, and they're kind of just pretty easy to run in. And I have a lot of different shoes, so in 1 year, I don't tend to put a ton of miles on any one pair of shoes, so I was able to do that. We mentioned Zumbro 100 mile and a 50 mile, and then I think they also have a 17 mile because it's 17 mile loops. That's in Minnesota in April. It is quite a race. I encourage everyone to go give it a shot. The 50 mile starts at midnight. I don't even think I would ever attempt the 100 mile. First of all, even though it's April, they seem to manage to often get a snowstorm or something right before the race. And the first year I did it, it was insane. And I was really pretty new. I wasn't even in proper trail shoes, and it was ice on the course. I was slipping and sliding, and I bailed after 2 loops. I was cramping so severely. Some of the worst cramping I've ever had. And I just thought there was no way I was getting through another 17 miles of that, especially on that terrain. I did go back the next year and finish it. That day it was better. It was not so snowy and a little muddy and stuff, but I did get through it. But Nate did the 100 miler this last year. It was incredible. There's so many races where the conditions are bad that your eyes glaze over, and when someone else says, "Oh, the conditions were horrible and it was epic and all that," but this really was. It was, like he said, a blizzard during the race, snow drifts, everything going on, freezing cold, high winds, and it was his first 100 miler, and he came in third place. And came in third because 83% dropped. So amazing accomplishment. We talked a little bit about the Valhalla and Hawkeye 50K. So what that's about, in 2010, I started a 50K race in Iowa, near Iowa City. And it was a 50K, 25K. It was in 2010 in December. And a huge ice storm hit right during the race. Okay? Caused all these problems for people, really, really tough. And the park ranger was this lady who didn't really understand trail runners. She said, "You're never doing it in December again." So the next edition, there actually was no 2011 race. The next edition was in March 2012. So then I did it 3 more years. So a total of 4 times I held the race, 2010, 2012, 2013, 2014. Every year there was some conditions, weather problem. Every single year there was something that happened. I never had a really nice year. And I don't want to go into how each year was different. They were all different in how they were kind of a disaster. Anyway, these guys, there's a group of guys, they call themselves Thor's Day, like Thor, the hammer guy, whatever. Because every Thursday morning they run this loop, okay, which is like 80% of the loop. Okay, they chop off a little bit of it. They run it every Thursday morning. They've run it every Thursday morning for like 4 years. They've never missed in 4 years, meaning at least one person has run it every Thursday morning in something like 4 years. And then every December, they run it as a race. It's not sanctioned. It's just a piece of paper. You write down your time when you're done. But they do that every December, pretty much the same time I had the original race. And they call that race the Valhalla run or Valhalla race or whatever. It's on the same course. So that's why he was saying that my race, in a way, was the original Valhalla, because they started it right after I did. So anyway, you can run that. Get hold of one of these guys and get to Iowa City early December, and you can run that loop if you like, or you can run the Hawkeye 50K. Still exists. I handed it over to someone else. It's in April now. And that is it for today. Sorry if I talked too much about my race. I apologize. I hope everyone was smart enough just to fast forward to the interviews, which was more interesting. Remember, again, I'll put this on YouTube, and if you want someone else to watch it, it'll eventually be up there on YouTube for people who don't do podcasts. Also, I'll have pictures and pictures in the show notes at runsmith.net. Go to runsmith.net to get more information about me. Send me an email, chemsmith1@gmail.com, like the beginning of the word chemistry, CHEM, Smith and the number 1. chemsmith1@gmail.com. Send me an email about anything. Tell me that I don't have my facts straight. That would be great. Also, check out my coaching services, especially if you're a newer road runner, maybe a newer trail runner. I might not be the best guy to get you, I could try. But if you're a super experienced trail runner trying to win UTMB, maybe that's not my area of expertise, okay? But I can help you get going in road running, marathons, this type of thing. I'll get you into trail runners, get you through your first 50 mile or a little faster in a 50 mile, that type of stuff. You can check that out also at runsmith.net. And that's about it. If you could leave a rating at iTunes, that'd be cool. A rating and review. This podcast has been going for 2 years, and I have no ratings and reviews. Yeah, I know. Very impressed. Actually, I have one, but it doesn't really count because I told her to do it. All right, that's it. This is Ron Smith Enterprises presenting topics in endurance sports. Signing out. Have a fun workout.